All right, we're out at the home of Bill and Tammy Anderson, and we're looking at some siding. They had a couple issues with some areas that are kind of prompting a more possible widespread approach to fixing everything. Definitely big on doing it once and doing it right, which obviously aligns with what we do. So we're going to take a look at some things here real quick, just so we're all on the same page. Start out front here. We'll be doing the conservative tear-off. Really the major focus is the fascia. That's really where the worst problems exist, so that's what we're focusing most on. The roof is about a 10-year-old roof, so we have to take that into consideration because there are some pretty significant areas that need to be in the fascia that need to be repaired, which is going to entail us cutting out fascia and reinstalling new fascia. So we'll have to account for that. But starting at the front, basically this little guy right here, the little leg, is rotten, so that's going to have to be replaced. There's an area right at the peak of the two fascias that is rotted, and it extends down probably 5 feet this way to right here. This gable vent is warped. You can't really see it with the trees, but that gable vent will be retrimmed in Hardie, and this would all be Hardie on here. It would be a Cedar Mill Select 8 1/4 board that we'd be using. All of the porch ceiling underneath here will all be painted, as will all the soffit. So there's really no problems with the soffit. It's just the fascia. So all the soffit will be painted. All these little aprons above the windows, those will all just be painted as well. There's no issues going on with any of them. On the full scope of work, we would paint the door. We would do garage door wraps on both of the garage door frames. There is an option. We talked about two different options. There is an option of them just doing the fascia, in which case the fascia scope would stay the same, but it would stop at the fascia, no painting anywhere else, or on the soffit. It would just be addressing the fascia. But I think we like the full scope idea in terms of getting it all done and getting it done once and correctly. So I think that's probably what's going to happen. But in the event that we need to change this or modify it, I can make a new video. We would paint the front door. Both doors, garage doors, would receive garage door wrap around the trim. We wouldn't be doing anything with the shutters. Those would be staying. We would, on this though, however, assuming we do this, is doing the garage door wraps, we would paint the lentils. They're a little rusty and need a little attention, so we would paint the lentil piece, which is the steel bar here. We'd paint that as well. Okay, so coming over to the left side of the house, we got some pretty good swelling going on right here. You can see that bumping out right here. That's just typical masonite doing its thing. So that's an issue. We got major significant rot around this trim here. So that would be addressed in the full re-side. That would all be Hardie 1x4 trim. All corner trim, all transition trim like this would all be Hardie plank. Let's see, the chimney, so this has been causing them some problem. This is probably the worst area in the whole house. It's just annihilated. About 6 feet extending from the chimney back towards me is completely rotted. So that's going to need to be cut out. There's also, I think, some water penetration that's coming in here and presenting itself on the first floor and on the carpet. So basically no other signs of any kind of water infiltration on the interior sheetrock or anything else, but right at where and they say it's right in the crevice of where the wall meets the chimney, there is some water on the carpet that happens every time it rains. It was hidden under a bookcase for a while, but they moved it recently and found that out. So I'm guessing it's probably coming in here, coming along the chimney wall, and then finally presenting itself inside at the carpet. So that would all be something that we could look at in the fixing of this area up here, but that's all going to need to be torn out and then reinstalled. They don't have any pets, so we don't have to worry about that. You can see how bad, or maybe you can't in the video, but there you go, it's really bad. So that is what prompted their call initially today. There's another area of right here where I've notated it all on the paperwork too, all the different areas of rot. You can tell that's hollow. There's probably about 4 feet there that has to be cut out right there. Otherwise, minus this spot, which you can see a lot better from over here, right here. All this from probably about the second sheet back is all overlay candidate. As we move around to the back here, there is some more areas of this whole corner here is a little suspect, so we'll probably have to replace that before we do our fascia overlay. Again, still just paint on the soffit. Up above, we'll have to, on the up above where the siding comes down to the deck, there's exposure there, so we talked about that, you know, leaving that exposure proper for an inch or two up there. All these aprons down here above the windows, above the door, here these guys would just be painted, and then above there, the kitchen window, those would all be done in Hardie as well. Windows would all be retrimmed in Hardie. The deck is staying, we're not doing anything with that at all. We may, I'm not sure, may have to pull off those 4x against the house unless the guys can figure out some other way to get up, butt up to that or get behind there properly. We may have to pull out those 4x. Not doing anything with the back door, it's in brick, so that'll stay as is. This bump out, the fascia will be included on there. And then there is a single window up top right there and a door. So those would all be retrimmed in Hardie as well as these 3 windows that we see right here. But again, most of this is a decent candidate for an overlay on the back. And as we go over here, this is actually the siding wise, this is probably the, you may not be able to see in the video, but the entire side, about a foot up, it's swelling out. So you can see that. So this side would be a full tear off over here. Got 2 windows up top that would all be retrimmed in Hardie. We got, let's see, let me see if there was any, yeah, my fault. So we got from about the second window here straight up and all the way this way, there's about 15 feet of rot of fascia that we'll have to cut out, repair, and then install our fascia overlay. This corner's decent. Might have to just fill that in before we put on the fascia overlay. Coming over to this side. So this whole area up here is rotted. It's probably about 6 feet. And then I think that was it on this side on the fascia. So that's the only area on this side is this portion here. And that's it with the fascia. A little piece of soffit there. It looks like it needs to be nailed back up. Excuse me, but this whole side would be a full tear off. Which means we take this off, we go down to the studs, we would then put on our OSB, our Hardie wrap, and that, which is the vapor barrier we talked about, and then the siding after we do the trim. This little apron here would all be Hardie as well. That pretty much takes us back around to the front. All the vents, so we'd re-nail those vents up there, make sure they're nice and secure, and then we'd caulk and seal around those, as well as the H molds, and that would be the proper treatment on the soffit all the way around, including the front porch ceiling. So that's pretty much what we're looking at. Not a crazy big project, but again, it's paramount to them doing it once, doing it right. They got a new grandbaby they're expecting here in I think about 8 months. So their whole philosophy is, hey, let's get this done so we don't have to worry about babysitting the outside of our house. And it fits in very nicely with the way we do business. So I think that's about everything I have. Tammy and Bill, it was great to meet you both. I enjoyed spending some time with you this afternoon, and we look forward to helping you out.